Welcome to Animark's training session on the Livestock Global Assurance Program, or LGAP. My name is Angela Schuster, and I will be taking you through this first session called Overview of LGAP. There are 3 sessions in this series available from Animark. Each session has been designed to build upon the content of the previous session. Session 1, which we are starting now, provides a high-level overview of LGAP. Session 2 will explore some of the practical applications and interactions you will have with LGAP in more detail. Session 3 focuses on the LGAP standards and covers the essential information which will help you work with the standards and interpret and apply the requirements in the standards in the context of your business. Session 2 and Session 3 are available on the Animark website at www.animark.com.au. We will work our way through this session in a series of sections. Shortly, we will look at what LGAP is before spending a bit of time exploring who is involved with LGAP. After that, we'll discover how LGAP will work for you and the benefits it provides. At the end of the session, we will spend a bit of time just recapping what was covered. So let's find out what LGAP is. To understand LGAP, we first need to look at Australia's regulatory framework for livestock exports. Australia's live export industry is made up of supply chains consisting of producers and exporters in Australia and importers, feedlots, farms and abattoirs in importing countries. Exporters are subject to 2 Australian government regulations: the Australian Standards for the Export of Livestock, or ASIL, which governs the sourcing, aggregation and transport of livestock from Australia, and the Exporter Supply Chain Assurance System, or ESCAS, which governs the management of exported livestock once they reach their intended importing country. In order to export livestock, the exporter needs to demonstrate to the Australian government that the feedlots, farms and abattoirs in its supply chain are meeting the requirements of ESCAS. This requires the exporter, or in some cases the importer, to engage an external auditor to undertake audits of transport arrangements, the feedlot or farm, and the abattoir. The auditor provides the report back to the exporter, who submits this to the department. I'm now going to go over what makes up ESCAS and what the requirements are. Most people think of ESCAS as the 4 principles, which are animal welfare guidelines provided by the World Organization for Animal Health, or OIE as it's called, independent auditing, along with control and traceability, all underpinned by animal welfare standards. ESCAS is all of those, plus a number of other requirements found in numerous export advisory notices, or EANs, which have been released since 2011. In addition, ESCAS includes a range of auditor materials, which encompass additional requirements across various documents, and for some countries, there are additional standards, particularly related to control and traceability. As you can see, there is quite a bit to ESCAS. ESCAS is a supply chain-based framework. As a result, this structure locks all of the parties together in inflexible supply chains, making it hard and slow to change if the exporter or the importer needs to remove or add feedlots or abattoirs to their supply chain. In addition, Auditors are contracted and remunerated by the exporter. There is a lack of requirements as to the competencies, qualifications, or certifications auditors must hold. Fundamentally, however, ESCAS is an Australian government regulatory framework and it can only regulate the exporter. The Livestock Global Assurance Program, or LGAP, is ANIMARC's flagship conformity assessment and certification program for businesses which export, import, manage and process livestock. It is applicable to any of these organisations anywhere in the world wanting to demonstrate their commitment to ethical and sustainable animal welfare, husbandry and management practices. At this stage, LGAP applies to cattle, buffalo, sheep and goats intended for slaughter. LGAP aims to foster world's best practice, encourage continual improvement and provide assurances that standards are in place and are being applied. LGAP has been developed based on science, research and international precedents. If you recall, ESCAS is made up of quite a few components. LGAP essentially reorganises this information into the certification requirements, which consist of 4 standards and the program rules. These documents outline clear and unambiguous requirements that must be met in order to be certified under LGAP. In addition, there are a number of resources available to support businesses gain and maintain certification. This includes a system called the ANIMARC IT Conformance System, which is a powerful tool to aid businesses in monitoring their ongoing conformity with the certification requirements. We'll hear more about this later in this session. An important aspect of LGAP is the focus on continual improvement. Continual improvement occurs under LGAP through the identification and treatment of risks and non-conformities. Risk is considered to be aspects which could result in a requirement of LGAP not being met. A non-conformity occurs when a requirement of LGAP is not met. It is expected that non-conformities will occur. The focus is on action taken to move back into conformity. Under LGAP, non-conformities are seen as an opportunity for improvement, because once you are aware of the non-conformity, you can identify the cause of it and change processes or procedures or even practices to correct it. This is different to the concept of breaches under ESCAS, which are sometimes perceived to be punitive. We will talk more about non-conformities later in this session. The Australian livestock export industry has supported the development of LGAP to assist in demonstrating compliance with ESCAS. LGAP will not replace ESCAS. Rather, it acts as the regulatory enabler. That is the tool that exporters can use to demonstrate their compliance with ESCAS. So we've heard about Australia's regulatory framework for livestock export. We also heard about LGAP, which will support the livestock export industry in demonstrating its regulatory compliance, as well as its commitment to ethical and sustainable animal welfare and management practices. This section will cover who is involved in LGAP. LGAP is owned by ANIMARC, which is a company based in Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. ANIMARC oversees the administration and monitoring of the program in all markets where Australia exports livestock. Part of Animark's responsibilities include developing and maintaining the LGAP standards and certification rules, processing applications to become certified under LGAP, managing and coordinating auditing and certification services, and serving as a central point to address complaints, investigations, and appeals. We'll hear more about these points throughout this session. LGAP is a conformity assessment program which awards certification for fulfillment of requirements to individual entities which are part of a larger global supply chain. LGAP applies to operators, which are exporters and importers, and downstream facilities, which include feedlots, farms, and abattoirs. Under LGAP, Animark approves certification bodies or organisations which provide auditing, evaluation, and certification services in each region. These approved certification bodies need to demonstrate they meet certain criteria as part of the approval process, particularly in relation to impartiality and conflicts of interest. Auditors are required to operate under the control of an approved certification body and be approved by Animark as well. They have specific competency and ongoing professional development requirements they also must fulfill. Once an operator or facility applies to become certified, Animark will allocate that business to an approved certification body, who will then assign one of their approved auditors to undertake the external audit of that operator or facility. The approved certification body grants certification to the operator or facility under LGAP. Animark maintains control and oversight of these approved certification bodies and their approved auditors, which ensures consistent, high-quality auditing and certification services. The approved certification bodies operate under contract to and are remunerated by Animark. Operators and facilities no longer need to directly engage or pay auditors. All of these parties are bound by the LGAP certification rules. These rules lay out each party's roles and responsibilities, as well as the processes behind LGAP, such as the process for applying and becoming certified and maintaining certification. The rules outline the requirements of internal and external auditing, the management of non-conformities, the granting of certification, and, where necessary, the suspension and withdrawal or removal of certification. Having these rules spelt out clearly means everyone is aware of their obligations, which ensures equal application of the requirements. In that section, we were introduced to some new terms under LGAP, like operators and facilities, as well as approved certification bodies, who are essentially audit companies, and approved auditors. In this next section, we'll dive into some detail around how LGAP works. In order to ensure LGAP requirements were robust and applicable internationally, a range of programs, standards, guides, and requirements were reviewed from around the world in the development of the program. Importantly, the program, and in particular the standards, were developed on 4 fundamental foundations: the World Organization for Animal Health, the International Organization for Standardization, the World Trade Organization, and specifically their approach to barriers to trade, and the Exporter Supply Chain Assurance System. So let's look at what these standards are. The LGAP standards specify requirements associated with the activities of operators and facilities. There are 4 standards, which are LGAP 1000, the fundamentals and vocabulary, which is really a dictionary of terms. LGAP 1001, which are the requirements for animal welfare and management, which includes requirements relating to personnel, environment, infrastructure and equipment, animal identification, animal health, livestock movement, and slaughter and processing. LGAP 1002 outlines the requirements for the management system of operators and facilities. This includes requirements relating to processes, risk and monitoring, documented information or record keeping, internal auditing, and corrective actions. It draws from ISO 9001, which is an international management system standard, although you don't need to be certified to ISO 9001. We'll hear more about management system in session 2. The last standard is LGAP 1003, which are the requirements for operator chain of custody. This requires operators to only supply livestock to certified facilities and downstream operators, comply with all legal requirements, maintain a traceability system, and have planning and contingency arrangements in place. The LGAP standards have been structured like this for flexibility, so the program can respond to future drivers through the addition of other standards over time. Not all standards and all requirements in each standard are applicable to every operator or facility. You can find out more about which standards and requirements are applicable depending on your business in session 2 and session 3. Both of these sessions are available from the Animark website. Under LGAP, an operator or facility is certified against a scope. These scopes consist of the standards, which we just heard about, the activity, the species, and the level of certification awarded. I'm going to provide an overview of levels. However, there is also a short video available from the Animark website which provides more detail on this particular topic. You can access the short video online at www.animark.com.au. There are 3 levels under LGAP, which recognise that facilities around the world are at varying degrees of development. The levels provide an opportunity to include all livestock under LGAP, regardless of their origin. For example, livestock sourced domestically in market or from other exporting nations. Facility levels under LGAP are based on practices relating to animal welfare and management, including the method of identification used, the types of restraint used, and the use of stunning. Level 1 reflects the guidance provided by the OIE, and certification against Level 1 can be sought for local livestock being handled by facilities. Level 2 is considered ESCAS equivalent, and all livestock from Australia must be managed through facilities that are certified to Level 2. Level 3 provides a pathway for all participants in the program to achieve higher standards through the attainment of world's best practice. Facilities may be certified to Level 1 and Level 2 in combination, or Level 2 and Level 3 in combination. However, Livestock managed under the different levels must be segregated. Segregation may occur through time, that is, they are in the facility at different times, or segregation may occur through space, that is, they are kept physically separate. It is not possible to be certified to level 1 and level 3 in combination. The levels under LGAP are different for operators and considers the levels held throughout their supply chain. The highest level an operator can achieve is equivalent to the lowest level held by their downstream operators or facilities. For example, this supply chain consists of a level 2 abattoir and a level 3 feedlot, which means that the importer and the exporter operators will be certified to level 2. However, if this abattoir attains level 3 certification, then the importer and the exporter operators will also attain level 3 certification. There are a series of steps required to become certified under LGAP. This is called the certification pathway. I'm going to provide an overview of this pathway. However, there is also another short video available from the Animark website, which provides more detail on this topic as well. You can access this video online at www.animark.com.au. The certification pathway under LGAP involves a series of steps required to gain and maintain certification. I'll go over some of these steps in more detail in this session, and then in a lot more detail in session 2. To become certified under LGAP, an operator or facility needs to submit an application directly to Animark. As part of this process, operators and facilities complete a self-assessment, which helps them determine if they are ready for their first external audit, and, if not, which areas they need to improve. Once an operator or facility has implemented any necessary changes to become audit ready, they will need to conduct their first internal audit, prior to their first external audit being undertaken. Internal auditors can be appointed by the facility and operator and be a member of staff or an external party. Session 2 has more information about internal auditing and auditors. The external audit is undertaken by the operator or facility's assigned approved auditor. The approved auditor will assess the operator or facility against the certification requirements. The approved auditor records the observations and findings using the Animark IT conformance system. During the auditing process, auditors may identify areas that do not fulfill the LGAP certification requirements or non-conformities, and they record these in the Animark IT conformance system. When this occurs, operators and facilities will be required to undertake action to fix the non-conformities. This is called corrective action. They also need to provide evidence of the corrective action using the Animark IT conformance system. Certification is awarded to an operator or facility for 3 years. During this time, they will be required to undertake ongoing surveillance. This consists of regular internal and external audits and the management of any non-conformities identified. We've heard a bit about non-conformities and non-conformity management throughout this session. And these are key parts of the certification process. I want to explore these concepts in a bit more detail before we move on. As we heard earlier, non-conformity detection and management is a normal part of continual improvement processes under conformity assessment programs. It is expected that non-conformities will occur. The focus is on the action taken to move back into conformity. This is called corrective action. The non-conformity management process ensures that operators and facilities not meeting the requirements are provided with the chance to change processes, procedures, or practices before serious issues arise. Making these changes, or taking corrective action, is focused on fixing the underlying issue which caused the non-conformity. The process is designed to ensure the principles of procedural fairness and continual improvement apply. While non-conformities present a chance to put things right, there are repercussions if this is not done, which can include withdrawal of certification, and we will cover this in more detail in session 2. I'm now going to talk a bit about non-conformities under LGAP and how this relates to the Australian Government's ESCAS regulatory framework. Coming back to our diagram, which shows the Australian regulatory framework, the Australian Government will continue to regulate exporters against ASIL and ESCAS. Remember that ANIMARC will utilise approved certification bodies and approved auditors to provide auditing and certification services to operators and facilities. These approved certification bodies and approved auditors provide information back to ANIMARC in terms of an operator or facility's ongoing conformity with LGAP. Minor and major non-conformities will be managed within LGAP. Critical non-conformities will also be managed within LGAP. However, ANIMARC will keep the Australian Government updated with how these critical non-conformities in particular are being managed and resolved. One of the steps in the certification pathway is the actual awarding of certification, which is called a certification decision. This is a decision made by the approved certification body and considers all of the evidence gathered during the audit, the non-conformities and the corrective action taken to close out the non-conformities. Once certification is granted, then the certificate is awarded by the approved certification body to the operator or facility. If an operator or facility is not satisfied with the outcome of the certification decision, for example, they are not granted certification, then this decision can be appealed. We will cover the certification decision process and appeals in more detail later in this session and in session 2 as well. Once a facility or operator is certified, we heard there are steps that need to be taken to maintain certification. This is called ongoing surveillance. This consists of internal audits undertaken by an internal auditor or auditor nominated by the operator or facility, as well as external audits, which are undertaken by the approved auditor appointed to you by your approved certification body. We cover internal auditing and external auditing in more detail in session 2. In addition to the usual auditing activities like watching animal handling processes and interviewing people on site, the approved auditor also conducts a risk assessment. Risk assessments will vary depending on the type of operator or facility being assessed. The risk assessment considers the risk of the operator or facility not maintaining conformity with the certification requirements and the controls that are in place to minimize or eliminate this risk. The frequency of internal auditing and external auditing is based on the outcome of this risk assessment. Risk assessment outcomes are categorized as low, medium, or high risk. Low risk results in internal audits occurring every 4 months and external audits occurring every 12 months. Medium risk requires internal audits to occur every 3 months and external audits every 6 months. High-risk operators and facilities will require internal audits to be conducted every month and external audits conducted every 3 months. The risk rating is assigned to each operator and facility as part of the certification decision. The risk rating assigned can also be appealed, like the decision to certify. Because the risk rating is assessed at every external audit, an operator or facility can improve their risk rating by improving processes, procedures, and practices. That last session covered the certification pathway and the steps to becoming certified and maintaining certification. Each of those steps are covered in greater detail in session 2. This next section looks at some of the benefits LGAP can offer. Under LGAP, a typical supply chain will look like the one you see in front of you, where all parties in the supply chain are certified. One of the significant advantages of LGAP is how it can be applied through a supply chain. Certifying operators and facilities as individual entities brings enhanced flexibility and reduced supply chain disruptions. Consider a supply chain where each entity is certified under LGAP. The market comprises a network of these certified operators and facilities across a number of supply chains. At any time, there may be operators or facilities that have had their certification suspended or withdrawn. LGAP allows trade to continue through the inherent flexibility of the program. There is less risk of entire markets being shut down as scrutiny and accountability is applied to the operator or facility who has moved out of conformity, and the focus is on continual improvement in order to maintain conformity. To help you navigate LGAP, a range of resources will be available from Animark. Some of these are still under development and some are already available from the Animark website. And they include guidance manuals, templates, training, and self-assessments. Earlier, we touched on the system which supports LGAP, called the Animark IT Conformance System. This system provides visibility into an individual operator or facility's performance against the LGAP certification requirements. All internal and external audit results are captured in the system. When non-conformities are identified, they are raised in the system and the corrective action taken is recorded against these non-conformities as well. The Animark IT conformance system is like the central nervous system of LGAP. It collects and holds all information and coordinates activity. Operators and facilities use the system to monitor their ongoing conformity with the LGAP certification requirements, view, react to, and manage non-conformities, view their risk rating, access their certificates, and interact with Animark, their approved certification body, and their approved auditor. Approved certification bodies and approved auditors use the system to undertake audits and evaluation and certification activities. Animark will use the system to monitor ongoing conformity across the program. For operators, this system also allows them to monitor their downstream facilities' continuing conformity and risk rating. As part of the training provided by Animark for LGAP, there is also training on how to use the system. The Animark IT conformance system has been set up to be simple and efficient to use for all operators and facilities. The design of the LGAP standards and certification rules ensures equal application of requirements and consistent fulfillment of those requirements by all operators and facilities. This results in effective animal welfare and management practices. The structure of the program, which is outlined in the certification requirements, allows streamlined administrative processes through the centralisation of auditing and removal of audit duplication. It also delivers fast access to audit outcomes and conformity data through the Animark IT conformance system. If we go back to ESCAS for a moment, you can see the application of the 4 principles against the various actors in the supply chain. Regulatory approval is given to the exporter. These aspects are incorporated into LGAP and strengthened through the formalisation of components which are inferred in ESCAS but not immediately obvious. For example, while exporters and importers are not specifically audited under ESCAS, much of what is needed to demonstrate compliance with ESCAS requirements rests with them. In addition, rather than exporters being the sole party to receive recognition for their fulfillment of compliance requirements, all operators and facilities will receive recognition through individual certification for their good practices in animal welfare and management. You can see here the overlap between ESCAS and LGAP. What this means is that for those operators and facilities genuinely complying with ESCAS, then the transition to LGAP will be smooth. LGAP also provides procedural fairness, which is a core consideration under the certification rules. Operators and facilities can appeal decisions relating to certification or risk ratings with their approved certification body within 14 days of the decision being made. Evidence needs to be provided to support the appeal. The approved certification body will review the decision and make a determination. Operators and facilities will be notified of the outcome of their appeal within 7 days. If operators or facilities are dissatisfied with the outcome of their appeal, they can raise this with Animark directly within 7 days. In addition, if a member of the public raises an issue, it will be investigated by ANIMARC, who will ensure procedural fairness and impartiality in the investigation process. ANIMARC offers a range of services and benefits under LGAP. To access these benefits, operators and facilities will need to join the program and pay a membership fee to ANIMARC. ANIMARC will organise the sourcing and allocation of auditors as a service to program members. This includes overseeing assurance services related to non-conformity management and certification. As a member of the program, you will also have access to the dedicated ANIMARC IT conformance system, so you can have visibility into your business's performance under LGAP and generate reports. Members also have access to training and the resources you've heard about in this session. Invoicing will be centralised through ANIMARC based on what we term assurance fees, which includes all of the services you see on screen. Members will receive invoices directly from ANIMARC. Members can pay themselves or, with prior arrangement, nominate to have a third party pay on their behalf. ANIMARC will also invoice exporters on a throughput basis each quarter, which allows exporters to use LGAP as a means to demonstrate their compliance with ESCAS. Timely payment of applicable fees will ensure there is no interruption to a member's certification status. LGAP provides a number of significant benefits. The LGAP standards provide clear, unambiguous requirements for the welfare and management of livestock, and how each party is expected to perform is outlined clearly in the LGAP certification rules. The program ensures consistent, fair, equitable and objective application of the LGAP certification requirements. All parties are expected to conform equally and are assessed consistently against a common standard. LGAP offers standardised and consistent auditing provided by high-quality auditors. It strengthens the impartiality of audit services. Under the program, dedicated non-conformity management is provided by ANIMARC's impartial approved certification bodies and focuses on continual improvement. The inherent flexibility that comes with having operators and facilities certified as individual entities avoids large-scale supply chain disruption or an entire market being shut down. Streamlined administrative processes are achieved through the centralisation of auditing and certification services. This also eliminates audit duplication. In addition, exporters are able to utilise LGAP as their means of demonstrating ESCAS compliance. Procedural fairness and impartiality is deeply embedded in LGAP. There are avenues for operators and facilities, as well as the public, to raise legitimate issues and have them resolved. Individual recognition through certification is provided to facilities and operators for their good practices in animal welfare and management. A range of tools, resources, and training will be available to help those genuinely complying with ESCAS make a smooth transition to LGAP and maintain conformity. In particular, the ANIMARC IT conformance system provides a powerful tool for operators and facilities to help them monitor their conformity, and for operators, the conformity throughout their supply chain. In this session, you've heard about Animark's flagship conformity assessment and certification program. That is the Livestock Global Assurance Program, or LGAP. You've been introduced to a few new terms like operators and facilities, approved certification bodies, and approved auditors. We've learnt that non-conformities are an opportunity for change and continual improvement and require corrective action which improves practices. We went through the LGAP standards and certification rules, as well as the many resources that will be available to assist the transition from ESCAS to LGAP. And we've covered some of the components and key elements that make up the program, and you've heard about the benefits LGAP provides. That brings this session to an end. Thank you for your time and attention, and I hope this has provided you with some high-level information about LGAP. Remember, these sessions have been designed to build upon the concepts in the previous session. Session 2, or LGAP in practice, will explore the concepts we've discussed today in more detail and introduce further aspects of LGAP. To access Session 2, visit the Animark website at www.animark.com.au.